Hello there friends, Steve Turgoose here, and welcome to my little video Facebook like page thing. And thanks ever so much for clicking like. I'm quite overwhelmed at how many likes I've got already. Yes, I decided to set up a public like page and keep my other account more personal, because these videos are quite serious, quite sensitive topics, and I don't really just want to just put everything out onto my personal thing. So this gives you the choice of liking it or unliking it, whatever. I got a question about how do I make videos, and I thought that would be maybe a good topic for this little video here. Well, I'm actually a guitar player, a musician as well, and an artist. So for me, the videos are largely art. It's really an art performance. All media is seen as art, really. It's intellectual property. So what I put on this video, you see, is my intellectual property. Unless anyone's got a claim that I've plagiarised or breached copyright in any way. But there is fair use copyright, and obviously we need to use the same language. We can't avoid using certain definitions. But even the dictionary is intellectual property. The dictionary isn't fact. We've just agreed upon those definitions. That's why there's different dictionaries, and the dictionaries are copyrighted too. And so when I make a video, it is very much like a piece of artwork, and the content of the video is like a separate part. For me, the energy of the video is the first important thing. I have turned myself into the art for this video. I am the artist, the living art, and I understand that I am going to be perceived in a certain way, depending on the media, the light, the equipment and everything else. So I try to get the light really good, and I try to get a nice background, something green, some different colours and things. But mostly important is, especially with the speaking video, is that the sound is clear, that the voice is as near to the camera as possible, or near to the microphone as possible. And that's why my videos are near, because the camera's on the microphone. Also, to choose a place, I quite like it outside in the forest. It gives it kind of an effect. It makes a background, and so that's a really important thing for me as well. And also, it's like a song. You've got music. It flows. It shouldn't be just mathematics. It needs to have these dynamics, like emotions. And to me, media should have emotion. It does have emotion. If I talk to you for an hour in a very flat voice, like a normal lecturer, then after a while it has an emotional effect on you. It has this draining effect. So in order to kind of alleviate us from, or me and you, from that draining effect of information, I like to put emotion into information. Now, the information I put out is sometimes opinion, but mostly it's based off my experiences, documents that I've read, and reason. If you add 2 plus 3, you get 5. So you can then say this self-evidential truth that 5 minus 3 equals 2. So you couldn't argue and say, it's my opinion that 5 minus 3 equals 3. And you can have that opinion if you want. An opinion, it's like strawberries taste better than olives. But that's my opinion, you see. But there's facts about strawberries, and there's facts about olives. And so my opinion is only based off taste, and taste is, there's no accounting for taste. So when I put a video out, it's like, there's freedom of speech and stuff, but I'm very, very careful not to incite violence, for example, provoke the masses, to actually drawing conclusions, really. The conclusions that I try and draw are based on reason. For example, if the water runs under the bridge, then the bridge goes over the water. That's quite an obvious presumption to make. It might not be 100% true, but so you see, opinions have to be based on something, and it depends on what you're based on. And often, because I haven't got a suit and a tie on, and because I'm not keeping this level of seriousness and sincerity in that way. People often think that I'm just talking about my opinions, my views of the world, when in actual fact I've been studying this stuff for the stuff that I speak about for a long time. I speak 2 languages, German and English. I also study Latin and Hebrew and other languages and cultures. And thus between the English and German languages and other languages finding anomalies that are definite anomalies. It's not just a matter of opinion, it's an anomaly, or it's something that doesn't fit a pattern. You know, if somebody else came along and says, oh, I see it does fit a bigger pattern, then okay. But without that basis of an argument, an opinion does not have any weight in an argument. You know, reason is the thing. You know, so if I say a fact, what I claim to be a fact, we all live in a subjective reality anyway. So it's very difficult to say something objectively. But it's important to try and actually find that axiom, that self-evident truth. 2 + 3 = 5. Therefore, 5 - 3 = 2. So therefore, that statement isn't an opinion. It's an axiom. Now, it's very difficult to do axioms with life and real things because there's a lot of things involved. And as we know, if you haven't got into all of the details of all of the things, then it's all segmented. Which is why, for me, the most important thing was to study the faculty of intent, or law. You know, most people think law is just the rules that are made for you to live by, but to me that isn't the case. Law is a massive thing. There's canon law, there's king's law, there's common law and trading law, admiralty law. You know, there's so many different jurisdictions that interplay that you can't learn all of them, but you have to kind of learn the underlying concept behind what law does and how it plays out. You know, often we live in a society where it's like living at, you know, little Johnny's living at home. But now Johnny's like 20, he's over the age of consent, still living at home, but moaning and moaning and moaning. And everything he moans about is about his mum and dad, say. And so, at the end of the day, you would have to say to Johnny, you know, you're not right on all subjects, but one thing is, you're better off leaving home. Because you can't expect to change your parents, you can't expect to change your guardian. You can't expect to change other people in general. But you have, or you should have, a certain amount of freedom to change yourself. To get away from, to get your own house, to get your own life. And then stop telling your friend or partner or guardian, government, God, or whoever it is, to stop preying on them. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking religion. If your religion's strong enough, then I won't offend you. And if I've offended you, then it's maybe because you're hanging on to something that's just not really solid. Yeah, I'm not offended by anybody attacking my views. Because my views are quite solid. My views are not up for debate. This is my truth. And I put it out with conviction and honesty, with my own name, with my own face, with my own voice. And, you know, a lot of people can get a YouTube account, you know, Sillyman123, and then several other accounts, and you don't know who it is, and they think they've got the right to just come on your channel and write any comments they want, and away you go. But I have a responsibility for my channel. I have a responsibility for the comments under the video. I have the responsibility to deal with those comments. You know, sure, other people can make claims and stuff, but it's kind of a very serious thing. Another thing about making videos, you know, while the question's up, one of the things that I don't do is mention people's names. If it's a public figure, you know, David Cameron or, you know, Alex Jones or whatever, it's okay. Because they've put themselves in as a public figure. That name is a kind of a part of public intellectual property, Creative Commons, if you like. But other private names, other people, it's not really good to mention names at all, or details, addresses, or anything like that. So I'd never, you know, I'm very discreet with that. Even company names, I don't like to mention a company name. You know, I might want to point a finger at a particular company, but I need to point my finger at all of the companies. So it's not fair to single out the one in that sense, in the framework of what I'm doing on these videos, you see. You know, it's like choosing a battle for me, you know, because obviously if I start to talk about religion, and we all know, let's face it, we all know that religions cause conflicts, yeah? And we also know that religions have been maybe necessary, and that there is good and bad in it. But if nobody talks about the bad, then the bad tends to go a little bit funny. You know, it's the same with a lot of problems in society that are hidden and tabooized. It's okay to have a nice society, and it's nice to go on Facebook and share nice things, to share nice photos, to share sunsets and good quotes and stuff. But meanwhile, you've got pirates out there doing big damage, and they're not going to be affected by that. And I'm not seeing many sort of lovey-dovey people get up to stop, you know, the wolves, the rampaging wolves, you know. I don't know. Do you think, really, if everybody was lovey-dovey, that the few wolves would then suddenly start to, you know, be nice? I don't think so. I think, you know, if there's one or two greedy people in the world, then you can't stop that. You can't even know who's being greedy, because the nicest person might be a very clever, greedy person. And so that's all subjective, and really you can only come to an axiom. You can only come to some kind of reasoning. And like I say, I study a lot, I do a lot of research, and so I'm taking you know, I'm placing my bet. This is my bet, but it's not an opinion, and it's not up for debate. A lot of my statements are like begin with if, which is a conditional statement. So you can see there's a lot of effort goes into this. I'm not just sort of blowing my mouth off coming on here. You know, you probably notice that there's a lot of depth to what I'm saying. Sometimes even too much to me, for me to actually replay to myself. You know, sometimes I watch back and think, that concept was a lot deeper than I went into. You know, especially with the law concepts or the spiritual concepts. Because these are things that interest me. You know, when I got into spirituality and trying to find my own consciousness and learning about the world, I realised there was still letters coming through my door. There was still this like government hanging over my head, stopping me being in contact with my maker, with the universe. Like, you know, a blockage. And it's governments, it's governance, it's forced governance. You know, if you're happy being forced to pay tax or forced to do this, that or the other from the government, then that's okay. But I think it's wrong to allow something to be forced on others, you see. Just because you or many other people might be forced to do something and be happy with that force, we still need to bring out the fact that it's forced. Things need to be free will. It has to be free will to a large degree. You know, especially those who can prove authority and reason, and that those who can govern themselves and the people around them. So I think that's bad enough. 13:55, yeah. The time ticks away, doesn't it, when I start talking? But I just wanted to say again at the end of this video, you know, I've been clicking invites and I've been trying to make this Facebook thing work. I'm still not 100% sure how it works, whether I keep bombarding and spamming people with the same thing. You know, I've been too cautious in the past, and that's why you haven't seen me. So this time I'm just going to maybe try and bombard it out a little bit. Like I say though, you know, my videos are my truth. They're not really up for debate, but if you want to send in comments or anything, leave your opinion. I've got my opinions as well, and I don't mind sharing them. I hope you can understand the concept, what I'm trying to put across here, but I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to work it out, and this is a part of it, just telling you that I'm trying, for example, rather than having a script made. That's why I didn't stay at home and show you me books and show you me things, because I want to come out here in the grass where I've got no paperwork, no cues, just me, the nature, and you. And that's another thing when I make videos that's really important, is when I'm sat here staring at this camera, as soon as possible I start imagining I'm talking to you, the viewer. And I might change it for different videos, but generally I try and imagine everybody's sat there. And I always try to imagine that I feel love for you, but that I'm not always allowed to express that love. That sometimes I just want to move you. I just want to move you. Some emotion and reason. So please put a little bit of effort into researching the things that I've mentioned before saying that they're wrong or it's just my opinion. And everybody's entitled to his opinion. For sure, everybody is entitled to an opinion, but there's a danger in diluting a concept by just saying, that's your opinion. You know, you could say it's the government's opinion that we should pay tax. But if you don't pay tax, you go to prison. So, you know, the opinion's worth shit. And this isn't my opinion, this is my truth. This is what I stand up for. That's it. Thanks ever so much. Bear with me. Send me personal messages and stuff if you want me to talk about certain issues. And I'd love to. Thanks a lot. And I'll play some songs later. And yeah, that's it, innit? I'll see you later. Cheerio.